Howdy y'all, Kevin here. But y'all know that. I guess we need to talk about this a little bit more. We're going to talk about the Texas thing and immigration in general. I'm going to drink a little Tin Cup whiskey tonight. And I haven't smoked one of these in about 2 or 3 years. This is a Tin Cup. Tin Cup. This is a Brick House cigar. And my exact quote last time I had one of these was worst cigar I've ever had in my mouth. So, I picked one up today just to see if they've improved. I know this is a mistake, but I'm going to do it anyway. Dogs raising hell outside. I really thought about going down and joining this convoy that's going to Texas. I'll be honest with you. These things got a weird aftertaste to them. I don't know. I guess they're supposed to be that way because it's not really changed from the one I had 2 or 3 years ago. But anyhow, I had messages and comments and all kinds of stuff about that thing I did on Go Texas last week. And a couple of them, I understand that things are weird and all that kind of stuff. I had one guy basically say it's almost impossible to get a visa now or get your immigration status taken care of now. That's still not true. All right, there's a lot of hoops you got to go through, all kinds of stuff you got to go through, but it's still really not that hard. And there is a way to do it. There's a path. All you got to do is stay on the path, which these folks sneaking across the border ain't doing it. And sadly, you got weird things going on down there. One of the things that they find along the border down there is people discarding all of their identification before they cross the border. They keep it until they get to the border, then they discard it right before they cross the border. All right, and the reason for that, the only conceivable reason that I could see that someone would do that is because you don't want to be identified because you have something that would prevent you from coming into the United States legally. All right, so if you're a criminal, you throw your ID away, you give a false name at the border, and then all of your new paperwork that they issue you right there is all under this new paperwork, so they can't trace you back to being a sex offender or a murderer or a drug dealer or whatever it is that you had to discard your ID from. Now, a lot of these people come with all their IDs. They got passports. They got all kinds of stuff. And those are the folks that they actually believe they have a legitimate reason to come. They're not coming in to do anything nefarious. They're probably trying to get away from a bad situation. But a lot of those folks, they were already away from a bad situation because a lot of these folks that they're interviewing have been residents of Mexico or Venezuela or someplace that they came there from another place, and they've been there for over a year or more sometimes. So whatever they had escaped, they were trying to escape from, they had already escaped from. So I don't really have much sympathy for folks of that bent. I had another guy say, it's too late, the invasion's over. The invasion is not over. They processed, now this is just the ones they processed, the ones that didn't get past them, over 300,000 in December, I read. 300,000! There's a new bill in front of Congress to try and get pushed through to get reform taken care of, and it's a bipartisan supported bill and all this kind of stuff. It's not going to do any good because they've got things in there like, okay, we're going to have a 5,000 a day cap. That means every 3 days they've got more than the population of my hometown coming in every 3 days. They say there were 6.3 million last year of folks who crossed the border and got processed. All right, that's a lot more. That's a lot more population than a lot of states have. So I think I read that it was that if they were one state, those 6.2 or 6.3 million, what it was, they would be the 18th largest state. So that's a lot. And with unemployment being what it is, and inflation being what it is, and all those things being what it is, sorry, but as long as we can't employ our own folks, we don't need to be offering you employment. We don't need to be offering you all these freebies that you get as soon as you cross the border. Free healthcare in California now. Free healthcare if you're an illegal immigrant. Now that means, let me clue you in on something. It's not just California. It's New York and all this kind of stuff. And on that subject, most of the sanctuary cities are now basically bankrupt. Not like anybody didn't tell you that was coming. So, but anyhow. So basically, when we put all these illegal immigrants above our own citizens, above our own homeless vets, they're taking these folks to New York and putting them up in 5-star hotels. You know, it's one of those, and you got veterans living on the street in New York. So what the hell are we coming to? What are we coming to? Let me give you a scenario. Over what I've gleaned over the last year or two or so, watching the immigration stuff going on, this is near and dear to my heart. I don't talk about it a lot because people get all bent out of shape. But let me give you a scenario of what goes on. These people, all right, now first of all, we are the #1 contributor to the UN, all right, as far as monetarily supporting the UN goes. Now the UN goes and backdoors us by supporting all these migrant caravans coming in, by giving them phones, by giving them clothes, by giving them food, by giving them all this kind of stuff, and giving them money. So basically, they're taking our tax dollars, funneling it through the UN, and funneling it back to all these illegals. All right. So basically, you and I are paying to help all these folks get here. And when these folks get close, the drug cartels extort money from them to allow them to pass and help them get closer to the border. And the last thing I read was the average is between $6,000 and $14,000 a head is what the cartel extorts from these folks. Just to allow them passage to the border. Now, let's say a family unit, either real or imagined, mom, dad, maybe not mom, maybe not dad, maybe not their 2 kids. What happens a lot of times is with the human trafficking thing going on is if they can't afford to pay the cartel either turns them back, does bad things to them, or does bad things to them in the way of human trafficking part of the family. They may take a child away from them and hand them off to the next one, so it could appear to be a family group coming in. And that kid's job is to, oh, mom, dad, we can't break up the family unit. All right. Now, this is not mom and dad. This is not original mom and dad. This is maybe 2 or 3 generations down mom and dad. And by generations, I mean these kids go through it more than once because their job is to help those folks get across the border, then sneak back across the border, go back to the cartel, and be placed with another pretend family unit. So they appear to be a family unit, adults and kids, and they do that over and over again. Or they take mom and they basically make her a hooker, all right, to work off the family's debt because we couldn't afford to pay the cartel's money. Now this group comes through, and it's not just this family group; it's them and maybe 25 other folks. They sneak across the border, and they either get processed right there, or they sneak farther inland. All right, farther into the country, and they go across farmers' fields and they destroy farmers' fields. And here's the kicker that I really didn't. I knew, but I had never thought about it. If they go out there and put a bunch of human waste in these food crops, then technically the FDA, when they get wind of it, that whole crop gets destroyed because it's contaminated with human waste. So this farmer lost his whole crop because these folks basically did their business in his fields, in addition to traipsing through there, knocking crops down, and doing all those kind of things. And if they get processed, a lot of folks say they're applying for asylum, and let me tell you how that actually works. They don't get asylum right there. What happens in a lot of times, they say, okay, where are you going? They say New York, Chicago, California, wherever they're going. And they get a paper that says, I promise to go get an asylum hearing when I reach my final destination. Now, they've already broken all the laws. They have no intention, most of them, of fulfilling this, I promise to go get an asylum hearing in my final jurisdiction. So they end up going to New York. I was watching a documentary where a major hotel in New York, I don't remember the name of it, may have been the Roosevelt, don't remember. But they were talking about these lines. They take them to this hotel to process them. They got a processing center in there. Now, New York puts them up in this hotel until they run out of rooms. And they were talking about this line wrapping around the block. And I don't know if you've been to New York. The block's pretty good size. Wrapping around the block, completely around twice of them going in there and getting processed. Now, these folks get loaded on buses down at the border and taken to their final destinations on our tax dollars. All right? And they get processed there, and they get 10 times the benefit any legal citizen of that jurisdiction is getting. Like I said, free hotel rooms. Veterans aren't living on the street? Pfft, screw you. Homeless folks living on the street? Screw you. Illegal immigrants snuck into the country here illegally? No problem. 5-star hotel room for you, buddy. The invasion is not over. It's not that hard to do it legally. Most of these folks have a reason for sneaking across in places like their Concertina wire off in Texas. Oh, and I'm watching another guy going, they're preventing access to the whole border. This Concertina wire area is not that big. All right. So basically, they blocked a crossing. Now there are portions of the fence that aren't completed. There are portions of the fence that have been cut out. So it ain't much of a fence if you can defeat it with a battery-operated angle grinder and a chisel to knock the concrete out of the filled posts. So it ain't that much of a fence. Here's my proposal for a fence. The Great Wall of America. And we've got tribal lands that border the national border. And those areas, they can't do anything on those because that's considered sovereign territory of the tribe. So here's the deal. Those borders are completely open because we're not allowed to put a fence there because of the sovereign status of the tribal lands, which I'm fine with that, okay? But here's the deal. Cut off everything that's not there and let the tribal authorities handle it. All right? Because they have to have access to the river because it's part of the culture and which is fine. Good, fine. Oh, well and good. Do that all day long if you want to. Don't care. All right? But here's the deal. You're contributing to the problem by not allowing this to happen on your tribal lands. And number two, if everything else is fenced off, that's your problem. All right, it's your problem. Because you chose to have the problem. Like I said, back to the Great Wall. The Great Wall of America. 25-foot thick wall. Just like, just roughly what we're talking about. Think of Hadrian's Wall, but enclosed. All right. Completely concrete all the way down through there. Every 200 yards is a watchtower manned by a veteran. Or, some folks don't like my other solution. 2 fences, 3 miles apart. We train special forces in between those 2 fences. All right? If you make it from one fence to the other, welcome aboard. Here's your card. I know, that's kind of bad. Sorry. Okay. Brick house. Not nearly as bad as the last one I had, but still bad. All right, not a good cigar. Don't like it. I'll smoke it because it's a $7 stick, so I'm not going to throw it away. Tin Cup, y'all send me drink it before I do it again. I was thinking about going and joining this big convoy, but basically I can't find anybody to watch my dogs for a week. I got way too many dogs, way too many to load up in the van and take them all with me. Oh. If any of you are looking for a salty dog, let me know and I'll send you pictures. Talk to y'all later. Hope to see y'all in the woods.